Welcome back. If you follow baseball pretty regularly, chances are you've seen a bunch of baseball content creators out there. They come in all shapes and sizes and genders, but one thing they all have in common, like me, they love baseball. I'm Grayson Knight, and this is Baseball Podcasts Are Fun. My guest today is Billy Pinkney, but he's better known throughout the baseball social circles as Billy the Batboy. Billy just graduated college, but he's an old pro in the content game, and today I hope to learn a bit about his origins, both in baseball and in social media. So let's get going. Thanks for being here, Billy. How are you?
Yes, sir. Grayson, I appreciate you having me. I'm doing good. I'm here in New Jersey and it's finally starting to warm up a little bit. So I'm happy to be on here with you and talk a little baseball and content.
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad Guardian Baseball connected us. So you've been pretty busy for a guy only a couple years older than me. So let me see if I get this right. You've interviewed a bunch of ball players and other celebs. You have a baseball podcast called Big League Perspective, and you've written a book called Passion Prevails, designed to help youngsters like me grow our brand and message. Plus, you graduated from college at Montclair State University recently. And so I'm not sure where to start. So, can you tell us about growing up in New Jersey and how you come to love baseball?
Absolutely. No, it was a great experience just becoming a baseball player at a young age, just loving the game. I think that's really where it starts for a lot of us, just wanting to go out there and play the game, find a sport that we love to go out there and play each day. And for me, that was baseball. And I played some other sports growing up, basketball, soccer for a few years. And then as the years went on, I dropped one of those sports. And then all of a sudden, baseball was the last sport remaining that I just loved and continued to play throughout my college career as well. So playing baseball really opened up doors for me. And then once I realized that working in baseball was something that I could pursue as a career potentially, and I was around your age when I realized that and I became a bat boy for the New Jersey Jackals. I was 11 at the time, and I was 10 minutes away from their ballpark. And then at 13, I started to interview them. And that's when I really thought that, you know what, I want to be involved with sports media. There's a way for me to do this as a career and just to learn and grow and find ways to become the best that I can be and be around these guys every day. And what I really appreciated was how the players treated me. They made me feel part of the team. They were teaching me lessons and there were so many life lessons that you can learn from baseball and sports as well. And I really tried to take that into my personal life. So definitely having that experience working in pro ball at a young age and being around those guys was huge. And then being able to just compound the skills. You learn, you grow, you find ways to get better every day and then ultimately we're able to create opportunities. And ultimately the book came along and then going to Dubai and creating different opportunities, partnering with Guardian for that trip down in Florida. Things like that happen when you continue to progress and things just fall into place like that.
And it seems like you've turned your love of the game into things that are growing of the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, you got to be passionate, right? You have to be passionate because if you're passionate about something, whether it's baseball, football, content creation, being a broadcaster, whatever you want to do, the passion will drive you on the days, especially where you don't feel like doing things the most. Because I'm not motivated every single minute of the day. Like there are some times where I'm just, I'm tired. Maybe I'm not feeling like doing something. Maybe I don't feel like editing that video that I know I should edit right now. But what keeps you going is knowing that you're having an impact and that there's a passion for what you're doing overall, and there's a reason for why you're doing it. So that's what helps keep it going. So you got to love it. And you see a lot of professional players at the highest level who are playing baseball because they love to do it and because it's what they loved to do when they were a kid. And I try to always remember back to the days when I was working in pro ball at age 11, age 12, age 13. And I was there every day, not because I was getting paid for it, not because I was getting millions of dollars, because I wasn't. I wasn't getting paid at all. I was there because I loved it. And that's what people have to do. If in the beginning stages, you're going to be doing some things for free, you're going to be doing some things that, you're putting in extra work, but it's all worth it.
So, at what point with baseball did you think maybe you wouldn't play it for a living, but you wanted to continue doing something that revolved around the game? So, I guess what I want
Yeah.
to know is
Yeah.
how did Billy the Bat Boy start?
Right. Yeah. So it's funny because I've been in the dugout for years, just watching the pros, getting their bats and running around. And each year when I was in the dugout, I realized, you know what? These guys are pretty good, and I don't see my skill set as a player reaching that level. I don't know if that would ever happen. I don't know. I'm kind of young, but I'm comparing myself to these big leaguers and these guys who were in double A, triple A. I'm like, I don't think realistically it makes sense. So I decided to spend more of my time and effort on my other passion, which was content and working in the game still. And I actually, for a lot of the time, I had more fun working in pro ball than playing the game. So there were some points along the way where I just wanted to be around the guys at the ballpark. I wanted to be able to interview them and be around that atmosphere as opposed to playing. And that's kind of weird to say because you think that, oh, playing is the only way to be involved with the game, and as a young kid that's all you have. But in reality, there are so many different ways to be involved with it, and I was fine with that reality that I'm not going to play at the big league level or professional baseball. But you know what, while I'm in college, I could ride it out. I could play some club ball, still play with my teammates and my friends, but then have a major focus on what I'm trying to do as a career. And that was really the thing I think that helped me out a lot with my career, was that I was realistic with my capabilities. I still was able to play and enjoy it, but at the same time, I was diving deep into doing what I can in the industry. And I think if a lot of kids find out what they like to do early and not just say, you know what, I'm going to write off my sport earlier and just not focus on it, I wouldn't say do that, but I'd say to definitely find other things you like to do, because at some point, you got to stop playing. And even the best of the best, the big leaguers, man, they have to stop playing. They retire. And then they have the whole rest of their life to live. And you see some of them go into sports media. You see guys like Eric Hosmer, who was a stud in the big leagues for a while. He now started a media company. And you have different guys who are becoming analysts and involved with sports media or business. So that goes to show that, you know, you find other passions, other hobbies that you like to do, and that could turn into something else in your career.
So, towards the start, did you get any help from friends or family? Uh, so for me, my dad has tried helping me with my podcast and social media.
Right, right. Yeah, so neither of my parents are in the industry, but they're smart people and they're business savvy, like they have that mindset and leadership mentality. So they've been able to teach me skills that are applicable to any industry or any situation. So I've been taking advantage of those lessons and their mentorship and then applying it to my career, even though that they don't have connections in this industry. So I've had to make all of my own connections and relationships, but at the same time, what I've learned from them and then some professors and teachers along the way, I've combined all that and just applied it to myself and what I'm trying to do. So it's not like I had a parent who had all these connections and they could put me in contact or say, hey, help them out. I didn't have that, but I did have people around me who definitely guided me in the right direction, gave me advice on how to deal with certain situations, and then you go from there. But it's been a fun journey. It's been a fun journey, and I appreciate the people who have helped me out along the way, because there are a lot. And finding a mentor is huge, or some people who can give you some advice along the way. And people like that, they're so valuable because they want to give back. A lot of these players too, they take time with both of us to be interviewed by us, and that means a lot because they're trying to give back. They want to be able to help the next generation.
So, like you just said, baseball is a game of failure. We all know that, but it demands that you keep trying your best. So, what kind of early challenges did you have to overcome as you grew your content and brand? And did you ever have parts in your life that you thought of giving up?
Yeah, so I think a lot with content creation, I think a lot of the people struggle with not getting that instant gratification and then the validation from their likes or the viewership or the comments or the shares, all that kind of stuff. Man, I've been doing this since 2015 and I'm still not exactly where I want to be, but there's been a lot of growth. It's been slow and steady. It wasn't like overnight. Yeah, I had one or two videos that just blew up and then all of a sudden I'm, a millionaire. That's not how it works. That's unrealistic and it's not sustainable. So, you have once in a while you'll see like people who, there's one video that they post that just goes crazy. But I'd rather not search for virality in one video. I rather search for consistency over time. which will lead to more of a solid foundation, and you're creating a solid foundation of of contacts, of content, of your skill set, and then that'll gain you your reputation where people want to work with you. But I'd say that, I wouldn't say it's been a big struggle for me to deal with that, but I know a lot of people quit because they're not getting a lot of views on their videos and they've been doing it for a while. I would say just experiment. I've been experimenting with my content for a while. At first, I just did some interviews, but then I decided, you know what? Let me get a wireless mic. Let's mic myself up when I play baseball. Let's get other players mic'd up. Let's do other types of content, interview different types of people, and try to experiment with the style. And that's something I'm still doing. This is a never-ending process, and things constantly change. And I think the struggle has been too to understand the algorithms and how things work with social, and that could drive you nuts.
Mhm.
I've watched so many videos and listened to so many people about the strategy and what analytics you should look at and the hooks and this and that, like different things you need to do in order to retain the viewership. And this stuff's hard. So I think that's the other question too about, did I ever think about giving up? I wouldn't say I thought about giving up, but it sure can get frustrating sometimes when things aren't going exactly as you thought it should, or you think you made a solid video, but it's not getting the viewership it deserves. But then you see other people who maybe, aren't putting as much effort in, but are getting more views and all that kind of stuff. But you can't let that affect you. Everyone's on their own journey, everyone's on their own path, and you can't compare what you're doing to everybody else. Everyone's unique. So I'd say that's the main thing. Just focus on your grind, your work, and then learning from other people and applying it to what you're doing, and just search for ways to improve. And it's not an overnight process. The overnight success, man, it's non-existent. It happened. The overnight success happens when days and days and years are combined with hard work. And eventually, when you get your break, your opportunity, it looks like you're an overnight success. But in reality, it's just all those days and weeks and months and years of effort that finally led to a breakthrough and an opportunity.
So for me, I'm not even sure baseball content is what I want to be doing in 2 years or 5 years from now.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for the young ball player that is trying their best to play and also figure out what path in life they should follow?
Yeah, for sure. I would say you work hard at one thing, that's going to be how you work with everything else. You want to be able to work hard at your sport, but then you want to take that same work ethic and apply it to whatever else you're doing. So, I tried to try to train at baseball, and then I put that same work ethic into my content. So I'd say, you want to play your sport, and even though eventually you're not going to play anymore, you still want to work hard at it because that's who you are. Like, you were going to put 100% effort into what you're doing, but then put that 100% effort also into what you're trying to do as a career. Whether it's something you don't know yet, that's a tough thing to try to figure out what you want to do. Look, I've been lucky to know I want to work in this industry since I was 11, 12, 13 years old. But for the kids who don't, experiment, watch videos, try to open your mind up to different careers or different opportunities that might present themselves to you. And obviously there's so many opportunities nowadays with technology and social media that you can learn so much, and something small might intrigue you, and you might realize that that's something that you want to take up and learn more about, and definitely trying to find skill sets that are going to be valuable in the next 10, 20, 30 years with the way that technology is moving. So there's some jobs out there that are becoming more obsolete because of AI and other technologies. And there are some positions that will be absolute gold mines moving forward because of the advancements in technology. So, and that's a little bit of that's just how I would think if I didn't know what I wanted to do. But yeah, it's just, I feel like it's an inward feeling. Like, you'll feel a certain way about something when you know that that's what you should do.
Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that or not. Um,
Nah.
so thank you. That was a great answer. But now let's skip to some of the other areas. So what was the reason you wanted to write a book?
Yeah. So I had interviews from 2015 and on. So I had many years of interviews, and a lot of the questions I asked them, all these players, big leaguers, minor leaguers, coaches, a lot of those questions pertain to advice for younger players. And I realized that while I was in college, man, I interviewed a lot of these players asking them for advice. And I'd say, what advice would you give to a younger player? In reality, I was that younger player. I was asking them for advice pretty much for myself and for anyone else listening. So I realized, man, I have so many of these interview answers that I can transcribe them, put them into text, and then throw them into a book. And I had enough material to somewhat put out a book, but then I needed to add some more to it. So I decided to interview more people when I decided the book was going to happen. But the real reason, the passion for the book, the driving force behind it was because I didn't have the greatest experience playing baseball in high school. I didn't have fun playing the game anymore. And that's really when I spent a lot more time on my media stuff. That became something that I just want to spend a lot more time on. I dealt with coaches who really didn't connect with the players too well, and you know how that goes with,
Hmm.
how they treat you sometimes, and depends on who you have as a coach. But I dealt with some of that. My teammates did too. So I want to get wisdom straight from the horse's mouth, which was the players and the coaches at the pro level. And they were saying so many great things that can help out myself and other players that I knew I had to get this message out there on being a good teammate, being a kind person, finding ways to, uh, you know, reach your highest potential, even though you're going to face failure along the way in this game. So that's what prompted me to write the book. And then I released it last June, and it's been really rewarding for me to put that out there and see we're impacting some kids out there. And USA Today wrote an article about it, so that was pretty cool. And that's really what it's all about, just trying to help out the next generation of players and do what we can to inspire them.
So you seem like you're such a fan of baseball in general, and you're always finding ways to give back. So what lessons has baseball taught you that are the most important to you?
Man, I think the first thing is how important relationships are and being a good person because baseball's a small world. You think of all the levels there are, and it's a global game and everything, but it's a tight-knit community. Everyone seems to know each other.
Hmm.
And I've met guys during my first year in professional baseball 10 years ago when I first over 10 years ago, I think around 12 years ago now, when I first worked as a bat boy, a player from my first year who I kept in contact with all these years is now the hitting coach for the New York Mets. So all these years later, we're still in contact, and I got to see him last year at Citi Field. So those kinds of things are crucial because you want to be a good person. You want to be able to impact others in a positive way because you never know how you're going to impact others and bring up their day and then one day meet them again in the future. And then also, obviously, the lessons of dealing with failure. This is hard. Baseball's hard when you're failing so much and when you're coming up to the plate and naturally, in order to be the best, you're going to get out more than half of the time. And that's just how it rolls. So you have to know how to mentally handle that. And I feel like mentally I've grown a lot because if you don't know how to handle yourself mentally and how to face the, getting out and getting blown up as a pitcher and, striking out, making errors, that's going to translate into your life when things don't go well. When things don't go your way, if you don't get a certain job you want, if things happen that are out of your control, these things are going to happen. And how will you react to that? And a sport like baseball definitely teaches you how to face those challenges in life. So I'd say definitely being a good person, being that the person who you want in your corner, a good teammate, is one of the main lessons that I've learned from baseball. And then, of course, also knowing how to deal with that failure and adversity.
So, you said early in the interview, and I also know about this, but you went to the Dubai, for the new professional baseball league there, and you met some former MLBers. And I know you're a huge fan of the Yankees, but besides Yankee Stadium, what are a couple of your favorite stadiums that you've been to?
Oof. Yeah, you mentioned going out to Dubai, man. That stadium was pretty wild because it was a cricket stadium and they transformed it into a
Yeah,
baseball
into a
field. So that
baseball
was
stadium.
crazy. And it was really actually a really good field considering the work that they did trying to convert it and everything. And I'd say other stadiums. I always love Camden Yards, the Orioles' home, man. It's a great ballpark. Has that old school retro feel. The brick, I love brick. I could see you can see behind me right now. I got brick behind me, fake brick, but I just love that look. So that was definitely another cool ballpark. And another close ballpark to where I am is Citi Field. So the Mets, their place is really nice as well. I haven't gotten out to a lot of the other ballparks in the Midwest and on the West Coast, but maybe I'll have a few other answers for you when I get out to some of those ballparks.
Have you been to Rogers Center?
I have not. Have you?
That one's good. That's one of my favorites. That and
Okay.
PNC Park, the Pirates play.
They did a lot of work at the Rogers Center, a lot of renovations, so it really looks nice now. I was actually watching the Yankee game before this, and they were playing the Blue Jays tonight, and it looks really good. The turf actually looks like real grass, so that's always pretty impressive.
So, one of my old coaches, Coach Reggie McLean, now plays in Dubai. Did you meet him?
I don't believe I had a conversation. I'm trying to remember if I had a conversation with him. I might have said what's up to him on the bus or something. But yeah, I did see him down there in Dubai.
He's
Yeah.
a former Yankee.
Yes, so I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah, he played in AAA for a while. He might have made, did he make it to the big leagues with the Yankees? I can't
And
remember.
Phillies and the
Yeah.
Mariners, I think.
I remember him in spring training with the Yankees a couple years ago, and no, it's awesome. It was fun to see him down there because I remembered the name and watching him pitch. But yeah, he seems like a cool guy.
So before we start the wrap up, I want to ask what baseball has gotten right and what it's gotten wrong about today's game. So they've made
Mm.
a few new rules like the pitch clock and limited mound visits to speed up the game. And they're doing enough to keep it fun in America's pastime. So I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the shortened games. I like it. I think it's because I worked in minor league baseball when there was no pitch clock. So there were quite a lot of 4 hour games most days of the week with the pitchers walking guys and mound visits and new pitchers coming in. So I was pretty sick of long games. So I'm happy that games are 2.5 hour, 3 hours. But as far as the other rules, I think the one rule I don't like is the man on second base in extra innings. Not a fan. They also experimented with that rule in indie ball when I was working with the team I was with, and
Mm.
so I saw that rule right in front of me for many years before the minor leagues or big leagues implemented it. I'm not a fan of that one. I'd like them to switch that back, but I do like the pitch clock. They're saying it might lead to some injuries with pitchers, but I think there's so many other issues with the modern day pitching situation that is leading to injuries. So I don't think the pitch clock is as big of a deal. But I do like the shortened games. The bigger bases, I don't mind. I think that's fine. I think it helps too with guys running down the first base line and not stepping on people's feet, the first baseman's feet. You don't want that to happen. And then you see more stolen bases. So I like that action. That seems pretty fun. But other than that, I think they're honestly doing a pretty good job with those rules. I think obviously any league is going to evolve over the years, and baseball was in a position where they needed to find a way to attract the casual fan to the ballpark, and that's what they seem to do with the entertainment value, the entertainment factor that they're bringing back, and that started with the pitch clock. So I'm really happy with that. And then the other thing, yeah, I mentioned before the man on second, not a fan of it. Trying to think what else. I don't know. I would like to see what they do with the baseballs because I think they could do something better with the ball and to have a bet for pitchers to have a better grip on it.
Like
Maybe a
like
pretty
bring
tacky
back the
ball.
sticky back, bring back the
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah. Something could happen with that because you don't want pitchers who are throwing extremely hard, harder than they've ever thrown before, throwing a ball that they can't command as well.
hmm
So I think one day they're gonna have to allow them to use some, I don't know about a substance or some type of ball that is a little bit
They're
easier.
not gonna ban rosin in any way. That's pretty much
No.
the only thing that they can use.
Yeah, they even got more strict with the rosin. You can't have it certain places or stickiness on it.
You can't like use sweat and rosin combined.
Yeah.
Kind of
And
stupid.
it's hard, man, because some guys sweat more than others and then use rosin like a normal person, and then it might be sticky because you're sweating more than another guy. I remember Aroldis Chapman pitching for the Yankees, and he literally drips in sweat. So that could lead to maybe a more sticky fingers because of his sweat. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
So, do you think what the Savannah Bananas are doing is influencing any MLB changes?
I wonder. I don't know. I feel like there's two distinct brands of baseball, two different products on the field that it's tough to say. I do think that MLB is going to learn from them, and there's only so much you could do with what the Bananas are doing with major league teams. I don't think the Yankees are going to be playing in kilts. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think you can learn different ways to entertain fans and learn how they act. Like what are ways that I know Jesse Cole talks a lot about friction, and you want to eliminate friction between the fan and their experience at the ballpark. So, what can major league teams do to make it a better fan experience? Obviously, prices are a big thing
Mhm.
when, especially here in New York, it's expensive. Expensive to park. The tickets can be expensive. Then you have food that's expensive in the ballpark. So that's friction for a lot of families, especially if they have multiple kids. That's what I look at. That's a way for them to learn, I think. But I wonder. You never know what'll happen if anything will come into play from what the Bananas have done. It's great what they're doing.
So, thank you for all that, Billy. But now we've reached the not so rapid fire questions, the final segment of today's interview. You can answer with as much or as little info as you want. So, you ready?
All right, let's do it.
So, who was the first major leaguer you've interviewed, and how old were you?
Oh, that was Luis Hernandez. He was a former big leaguer with the Orioles, the Mets, maybe a couple other teams. And I was 13 years old, August of 2015.
So how did you land that interview? Do you remember how you got it?
Yeah, so when I was with the Jackals and I started interviewing players, I just decided to bring some guys up into the little ice cream shop they had inside. It was nice and air conditioned. They had a little area where like a nice backdrop I could talk to guys at, and I just bring them up there, have my iPhone and a mini tripod, like literally the size of my finger, that would lean against the table to hold my phone, and I just talked to them for a few minutes before the game, and that's where it all began. And then that was it. They're fun memories to think about. I remember having little cue cards essentially with the questions on them, and I had like 5 questions for the guys, and then great memories thinking back to from some of the first few interviews I'd done.
So, trivia question, what is the state bird of New Jersey?
Oh, I should know this. I should know this, man. Oh man, oh man, this is making me look bad here. I'm gonna have to guess. I know the country's bird is an eagle, but as far as Jersey, is it a robin?
It is not a robin. I had to
Um,
research this because I didn't know either.
what is it?
It is the American goldfinch, which I've never heard.
Oh, yep, yep. I remember hearing that probably in fifth grade. They probably told us that, but
Mhm.
I forgot that one.
And here in Georgia, it's the brown thrasher, which I've also never heard of.
Okay, okay. There we go.
So, did you have a favorite board game or video game when you were growing up?
MLB The Show was my game. I honestly did not play a lot of video games growing up. I was spending that time editing. So I'd say MLB The Show, Madden, that was really it. And then board games, I'd say Don't Break the Ice. That was always fun. And then I had a few others. I never played Monopoly, actually. I never played Monopoly, even though I probably should. That probably was the game to play to learn.
Monopoly's fun, but it's just super time consuming. It could take like
Mm,
days.
yeah, yeah. And then I'm trying to think what other games. Some random games. I know like the pizza pile up. It's like a pizza. You try to stack toppings on it so it doesn't fall. That was fun. But there's some random games we have.
Mhm. So, what's your favorite Yankee Stadium moment?
Okay. Favorite Yankee Stadium moment was when I caught a ground rule double ball down the left field line. I actually posted the video probably a month or so ago, and you could hear Michael K's calling the pitch. It was Dellin Betances, and then Steven Drew hit the ball. Yankee Red Sox game down the left field line. The ball bounced. I was right next to the foul pole. caught it in my glove. And then David Cohn was broadcasting too. He said, "Oh, nice catch by the kid with the glove." And I was all excited and I was jogging up the steps. The camera got me, and that was a fun moment. But
Mhm.
I'd say another moment too was just watching Mariano Rivera come in from the bullpen to enter Sandman like a dozen times in his last year. I went to a lot of Yankee games that year. So that was really cool just to see greatness entering the ballpark for the last year.
Yeah. Billy the Bat Boy, everyone, we did it. Thank you so much. Do you have anything else you want to add or ask me?
No, I really appreciate having me on, man. I gotta ask you though, what was your favorite moment?
Of the interview?
No, at a ballpark.
Oh, um, man, at a ballpark. I mean, I went to when the Braves clinched the World Series back in 21 against the
Ooh,
Dodgers. That was pretty fun. I saw Pete Alonso's first ever MLB home run in 2019 against the
okay.
Marlins. Um, and when I went to Rogers Center, I saw Brett Phillips. That was pretty fun.
There we go.
Yeah,
No,
first time
he's
I ever
cool.
saw him in person.
Yeah, I
But
love
yeah.
it.
Mm,
Good stuff, man. I appreciate you having me.
mhm. Sorry, one more question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite baseball movie of all time?
Ooh. Okay. I appreciate all baseball movies. I think The Sandlot was always my favorite growing up, but I really have an appreciation for Field of Dreams too. I love that. The vibe is awesome, and there are so many other good ones. I love the ones, the underdog stories. What's the one? I forgot the name of it, where the guy comes back, the coach tries to make his debut.
Oh,
But with Billy
the
Chappell
rookie.
was the
Rookie.
pitcher. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good one. Wild the Charlie Sheen Wild
Yeah.
Thing, Major League. That one's incredible. And Wild the the one with Charlie Sheen, man, Major League. It
Mhm.
reminds me so much in the clubhouse of working in the minor leagues. Just how the guys act. Like not all of it's realistic, but it's insane how I can correlate certain characters in the movie with actual people and just see the just like think back to things that they kind of did or acted. It's pretty funny. So that movie's also at the top three, I'd say, of my list.
All right, now we actually finished the interview. The Incredible Billy Pinkney is everywhere. You can order his book Passion Prevails on Amazon, and you can follow Billy on Instagram at Billy the Bat Boy and his podcast Big League Perspective at bl.perspective. And you can help my show by subscribing to Baseball Podcasts Are Fun on YouTube and Spotify and telling a friend and following at Baseball Podcasts Are Fun on Instagram. Please check back soon for an all new guest. Until then, that was Billy the Bat Boy. I'm Grayson Knight, and this was Baseball Podcasts Are Fun. Don't forget to swing for the fences. See ya.